Welcome to another episode of the AlbumReview.net podcast. I'm Greg Potters. Well, we've reached episode number 90, rolling along. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. I couldn't do this without you guys, without all of you. And for this episode, I complete the circle. I'm so delighted to have this guest on my show. She is the lead singer of the Led Zeppelin Tribute Project, the Female Zeppelin Tribute Project, Zepparella. Her name is Anna Kristina. Anna is one of the most impressive singers I have met in person. In this episode, Anna and I talk about her solo career, songwriting, how she keeps her voice in such good shape, her life on the road, and we dive deep into loss. So many of us have lost loved ones. It's a part of life, right? For me, reflecting on how we feel about loss and how we as people can band together to see the positives in loss, it really just makes this life worth living. So without further ado, please enjoy episode number 90 and my conversation with Anna Kristina. Let's do this. So again, I wanted to hold this up. This is your most recent record, which came out in 2017, but Soul Truth. I want
Yes.
to talk with you about that a little bit today, but a lot of other things. Anna, I have to pause for a second and I'm so thankful and feel so lucky to be able to talk with you today. I've really, you couldn't tell, I've really grown accustomed to your band. Yesterday, I was learning how to play Going to California by watching Gretchen's videos. And I now set aside 15 or so minutes a day to do that. So I'm like growing and learning all this awesome stuff. But to have you on the podcast, which I've been doing for over 5 years now, is just a treat. And so today I wanted to get into your band, Zepparella, but also your solo music, among a lot of other things. So again, thank you so much for coming on this Friday morning.
My goodness. Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute joy. It was wonderful to meet you at the show. I love the sort of deep dive that you do with music and albums and your sort of what comes across as really deep care about the music. So it's a joy and an honor to be here, and I'm just happy to have this time to have this conversation.
Likewise.
Thanks for having me. Really, thanks for having
You're
me.
very welcome. So, first off, you've been so many things to cover, but you've been the Robert Plant, so to speak, the lead singer with your own twist for in my opinion, the fabulous Zeppelin tribute project, Zepparella, for over a decade. But I read in your bio, Anna, that I actually didn't know this, that at one point you left the band and then came back, rejoined, which I'm glad to know. But just out of curiosity, back when you left, what prompted you to make that decision?
There was a lot going on in my life at the time, and there were just different tracks. And I was having some things externally in life that were a bit pressure filled.
Sure, I can understand.
And it just seemed like the rhythm of life was calling for that at that time.
Sure.
And then oddly, right after that, I lost my mother just
Oh, sorry.
a few months after that.
So this
So
is when, if you don't mind me asking, what
this was
year?
2011.
Okay. Okay.
2011. Yeah, so it was just yeah, life has a way. Life has a way of pulling you in different directions, and that's
It
what was
does.
going on, plus the unexpected event of my mother. So it seemed to be in the stars at that time that I had time to focus on what I needed for myself in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was really just what caused that slight shift.
Thank you for sharing. I can certainly relate. I lost my mom 5 years ago, and it's still
Yeah. It's
insane.
yeah, there's before mom's death and then there's after mom's death. That's
That's
kind of how
exactly
life
right.
goes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yep.
guess I'm always interested to ask people these questions that have similar experiences. Like, uh, now that it's been many years, it's been over a decade, how do you cope? Like, what are some of the things you do on tough days?
Wow. Great question. So, one thing that was really hard about when I lost my mom is that there was no, she was gone very suddenly. She was working part-time. She was semi-retired. It was on a Monday. It appeared that she died within minutes,
Wow.
just collapsed, sudden cardiac death. So there was no goodbye, there was no closure, there was
Yeah.
no, and I'm an only child. My parents were divorced. My mother and I were very attached. So
Yeah.
the loss there was immense, and the sort of psychological things you go through at that point. So I am an avid kind of spiritual seeker, always have been in my life, always lean into things that can help bring you back to the center of self,
Yeah.
help you watch the destructive stories that are
Yep.
pulling you and yanking you in your life
Yep.
to dark places. So
Yeah.
that has been, for whatever reason, that has been a constant in my life. And so when something like that happens to you, it really is the opportunity to go deeper and deeper into what is it that helps you stay aligned within yourself and not subscribe to the stories that are destructive for you.
That's the key,
So,
right?
right, that's it. And
Yeah.
every day life will trigger you with something that can set those
Every
stories
day.
off.
Every
Every
day.
day. So it's a daily thing. And I meditate. I meditate every day. I've done
Good for
all
you.
kinds of different spiritual practices in finding my way. And I believe that meditation isn't just for the 10, 20, 30 minutes that you do it in the morning, but the idea is it's a practice that you then take into life. And as those triggers come at you, I look at it as that's your learning ground, that's your education ground. As those
Yeah.
triggers come at you, you try to put those practices in motion.
Yeah.
And so when my mother died, I went deep into a lot of things that came up for me and having to really bring those practices into a louder volume. Not saying that I didn't lean on some destructive escape habits,
Sure.
which I
Yeah.
which you can do, but the call to try to be aligned and present and the watcher of the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and the old things that come up. That is really that's been it, and it's a daily thing. It's a daily thing. I
Kind of.
the sting of my mother's death has calmed a bit, has
Okay.
calmed,
Okay.
but the loss and the waves that come up, that's always going to be there. So it's the yin and yang of that's when this you try to bring those practices into your life, at
It
least for
sounds
me.
like you're pretty good at practicing what many might call like cognitive behavioral therapy. These are practices that I utilize as well. And what I'm trying to, I hate to say it this way, but beat into my brain is we are not our thoughts. And because my mom didn't really die suddenly. She was diagnosed with some illnesses, and about 6 years later, she passed. But the night that she passed, my what broke my heart more than anything was the previous conversation I had with her was not extremely positive. And
I
if
had a
I could
similar situation. Yeah.
really, yeah, if I could get that back. But and I've grown to naturally just not even think about that and really more remember. I was just before we got on this call, I was talking to my wife about how we're such freaks. We go to the store and we'll buy something and then we'll get frustrated because when we leave, that store will send us another coupon and and it'll be a huge 50% off. And we're like, why didn't I just already bought that? So what we've started to do is we'll go and buy like half the stuff we need. And then 24 hours later, the store's company sends us a coupon. So then we go back and we're like, why do we bother doing this? And I said, this is what my mom would do. Like growing up, my mom would always be, it wasn't really email around, but like it was. And so it's just, I mentioned that because that's an example of something that she did, but I've utilized a lot of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy tips, and always interested to pick people's brains on how they manage through it. And I feel for me personally, I don't like to go at it alone. I have a network of friends and family that I reach out to when on tough days, holidays, and things like that. So, but deeply sorry for your loss. And even though it was
Thank
over
you.
a decade ago, I'm sure like you said, the sting isn't as maybe severe, but it always stings. So I guess, did you go through a period of sort of recovery and healing, and then did music or Zepparella come naturally calling back, or what prompted you, and how much time did you spend away? What prompted you to end up rejoining?
Yeah, it's that's a That's a great question. I think it was a culmination of a lot of things.
Yeah.
After my mom's passing, I also had a bunch of songs I wanted to record, and that's where Soul Truth comes into play.
Nice.
And a lot of Soul Truth is about struggle. It's about
Definitely.
the redemption from the dark voices to the light. I mean, like that
Exactly.
seems to be the kind of theme I write about, and yeah, and overcoming resilience and struggle and those kinds of things. But so that took, of course, a lot of time, along with me continuing to gig and work just locally, which I've done for a while.
Sure.
And then when I finished Soul Truth, shortly thereafter, during that, so right before I left, within that last year, the we had recorded When the Levee Breaks, and
The
all
big
of a
one,
sudden,
the big
yeah,
video. Yeah.
yeah, having no idea. It was just we thought this will be fun, this will be cool. There's some harmonica there, everybody, and it started to climb a bit, and I started to get all these messages on Facebook about it, and I wasn't as aware, but then someone's, I've been doing the numbers on this, and I think that I crunch numbers for a living, and I think you might be at this many million by this year or whatever. And
25. Sorry to cut you off, but I checked a week ago and it was over 25 million.
okay,
Yeah.
so that was like this had a life of its own,
Yeah.
and I know that. From speaking with the girls, I think that they had some communication about it as well. But so that was climbing. And I was always on good terms with everyone. I mean, I had tea with them in various times. We were all in contact. And then at one point, I think there was a struggle happening with their singer, and there was I'm not sure exactly, but there was some maybe health issue. I'm not sure. There were some hiccups, and we were in contact about it. And I was at a time, I was at a point right then where I could let my album go. My album was done. My mother's processing was coming to a closure. I was the let's say the heightened processing of that
Yeah.
was silencing or calming. I should say calming a bit. And with the levee nipping at our heels, it was like, okay, they're going through a bit of a shift. We were in contact, and it just seems like the stars all swirled around and said, let's just, if you're open to it, I'm open. They were like, are you open to it? I'm to it. Let's get together and let's play that hit for a minute.
And also the like for musicians, right? Like yourself and a singer and a songwriter, you can't push that bug away. Like you can't fight that thing. I found through my life that it's always there. And I think in my early 20s, I tried to pretend that it was just maybe a side hobby and I went and got a desk job. But every day it would just gnaw at me. So for you, I can imagine that there was no way you were going to like permanently step away. This was just temporary. And of course, a loss feels like 16 albums for people,
Right.
material. So
Exactly. Yeah, some of it's still in works.
I'm sure.
The art of how to alchemize it properly is still bubbling in certain ways, but I've been dabbling on the piano and with ideas of recently as well of
That's
just
great.
to yeah processing all that. Yep.
Now, Anna, I was watching a video, several of your performance videos, and one video I saw, Gretchen Mendier, guitar player in Zepparella, at a show one night. She commented that she can't remember you ever having a night off. I think I'm quoting her, and I apologize. I don't remember what show that was. That's incredible, by the way. Like, what steps, I've always wanted to ask you, what steps do you take to keep your singing voice in such wonderful shape?
Oh, I love this question. And Gretchen is so gracious when she says that on stage. It like I've never had an off night. Personally, in my own little world,
We probably all
my
feel like we have once or
yeah,
twice.
in my own details, I certainly feel like I've had some off nights, but to hear Gretchen's perspective on it and to have such support, it just means so much to me that she views it that way. I am ridiculously careful and militant about protection and warming up and vocal study. I am fascinated with the craft of
Mhm.
singing, and I study it every day. Every day I practice every day. I take maybe a day off or two if the voice needs to be rested. It's good to take a day off, but I'm on it every day, and I'm looking up different voice teachers online. I've taken many voice lessons with many different people. I think it's important to find your own process, to find your
Yeah.
own method. And I've taken a little bit from each voice teacher to find now what's working for me, but that also changes, that morphs. Sometimes you break through and sometimes you think, oh my gosh, why have I been going after this exercise when I should be doing this exercise? And
Oh
look how
my
that just
gosh.
opened up
Yes.
this area. It's an ever evolving, for me anyway, it's ever evolving. So I'm militant about vocal study and vocal practicing to keep the muscles in shape. While we're on tour, they know me well. I'm essentially mute most of the time on those long
Really?
van rides,
Yeah.
on those long plane rides. It's a well-known fact that I don't talk because talking can really wear you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can almost wear you down more, especially if it's in a loud environment and maybe you're not supported. And I've talked to many other singers who feel the same way. And so they know very well that I don't talk a lot. I try to, especially after the show, if you ever talk to me after the shows, you'll see that I have to lean in a bit and I'm always speaking in what speech therapist, I went to a speech therapist one time and they called it a confidential tone,
Okay.
always speaking
Yeah, I
in that
like that.
confidential tone. So I'm always leaning into this confidential tone to go easy on it. Oh, I cool down after the show. I do these little exercises that bring the voice back into a more of a speaking range. Yeah. So mainly try not to use it around the shows on show day. I'd try to stay off the phone.
Mhm.
And then the warm up, getting it aligned for the show is also very important for me to get it to the place where it feels like I can hit those high notes. Because Plant, his range was insane. So
Insane.
it's high for women. So that's really it. It's a combination of all those things. It's a happy stew of all of those things in order to be able to deliver the way I want to deliver so that your instrument isn't in your way, but your instrument is serving the connection that you want to make. It's
I love
serving the
that.
story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, I love that. That's
And for
excellent.
me, it's all about connection in the audience. It's all about connection. And you want the instrument to be the vehicle for that. So,
Yeah. Now
yeah.
you guys you're on a small touring break right now, but you pick things back up again and play more shows starting August 1st, which is a week from today, if I remember correctly. Then you move,
Yes.
that's in Indiana, and then you guys move on to Pittsburgh, Chicago, Milwaukee, play a little bit in California, and then in Washington State. You already touched upon a bunch of the things that you do already on the road with your voice. What are some other things, Anna, to keep yourself focused? Do you impose a like a curfew on yourself, or what are some other things in addition to caring for your voice that you do when you're on the road?
I love all of these questions, these inside the vocal world questions. So I'm very strict about what I eat
Good for
generally.
you.
I like to eat things that serve the energy of my body and don't hold me down.
Like what? Please tell me. I'm going to the doctor's later this afternoon, and I'm actually going to request a referral for a nutritionist.
Ah,
So we don't have to
good.
dive super deep into that, but what are some of the
Sure.
things that work for you?
So I like to have some protein in the morning and a high protein cereal. I sometimes I travel with like my Kashi Go Lean
Nice.
cereal because it's a
Yeah.
high protein, but with good energy carbs and an egg. Or if I used to do oatmeal, but right now Kashi is my thing. And I did, like straight up just a tuna sandwich. Because I don't eat meat. I don't eat chicken. I don't eat beef. I don't eat so fish. I'm a pescatarian. Fish is the only thing I eat. So
Pretty
tuna
healthy.
sandwich will do me just fine.
Yeah.
Nice, clean energy. And Clem knows this about me. Toward the evening, I always lean to the fish tacos, some sort
Nice.
of,
Oh,
and if
out
there's some,
there, top quality. Beat them in
yeah,
California.
so because it's light, it has the protein, maybe a little legumes in there just to get the energy. I always, and it's on our writer, I always have a banana
Nice.
before I perform.
The
We have
sugar.
bananas on our writer for that reason. I always have
Uh,
an apple during the day because the apple helps inflammation. Apples are just great.
yeah. It's good for
There's a
your
whole,
digestion, obviously, as
yep,
well.
yep,
Do you stay away from fried foods or just every
yes.
once in a while? You do.
Every once in a while, if that's all we
Okay,
have,
that's fine.
very,
I feel like every once in a while it's
yeah.
quote unquote healthy to just maybe satisfy that craving. If you're not really digging things like cookies or ice cream, then why implement it? But I feel like once a week or once every 2 weeks, that satisfies some of the cravings a little bit
Yeah,
too.
there's sometimes when the restaurant or wherever we're playing is serving us off their menu and French fries will show up backstage and I'll jump in. It's good energy. I won't eat the whole thing, but I'll have a couple and it always feels good. It always tastes good and there's a little extra energy there. So
And you're also working things off too when you're on stage. You guys move around so much too. So
that's
that's
right.
part of your exercise.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I also absolutely it's a high energy show
big
for
time,
sure
big
in two
time.
hours. I also on our writer is the tea that I like. So I always
Which is,
I've become a little superstitious about my tea before singing too. It used to be
I can imagine.
yeah, I really am. It's because it helps clear away the stuff and it keeps the voice nice and moist. It's obvious why one would drink tea, but it used to be turmeric tea. But now I toggle. I jump around. I really like throat coat, which is the original with the slippery elm. I like the
Okay.
throat comfort that yogi tea has. Traditional medicinals has throat coat. I think a lot of singers might know about that one. So I have one of those before I sing as well. And I also have some vocal spray sometimes that if it feels like there's just stuff on the cords you want to get rid of, that helps clear that away. And gosh, I might regret admitting this, but the other thing I do, singers will understand this. I don't want it to be TMI, but every single day I do a nasal rinse, a
Oh, yeah.
saline
Oh, God.
nasal
Yeah.
rinse
Oh, I do it every
every
night. I
day.
do
You
it every
do?
night before I go to bed.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. We don't have to turn this into a total health thing, but I'm fascinated by some of the things that you do because hearing you sing live in person, it was just like, I'm like, you guys are professional athletes, basically. And what I've enjoyed so much about talking to Clem and Holly and Gretchen and yourself is you guys really take this seriously. And the misconception that I had as a 20 something or as a teenager, and maybe it was back then, but that it was like debauchery and don't take care of your body and craziness. Like, I don't see how anyone can last anymore these days. And I have so much more connection now when I talk to musicians like yourself that are caring more for their health. I think the not caring, that's out. Like
It,
that's
it is. It's like it's lost its cool.
right, exactly.
The,
Been there and done that a
yeah.
little bit. So yeah,
The result is fairly guaranteed.
pretty much.
It's pretty guaranteed kind of all the time
Yep.
what the result of this is going to be. Really fun for a little bit and then horrifying afterwards.
Yeah.
And then slightly horrifying. I don't, I used to drink before, I have maybe a couple glasses of wine before I'd go on stage. I'm on the wagon now. I haven't had a drink. I think I toasted Christmas of last year and I haven't had anything to drink since and I don't drink on the road at all.
Really, good
Not
for you.
after, not before, not the last
Yeah.
night. Yeah, that's gone. We used to have a little bourbon back there, but the whole band has moved in a different direction. So,
Yeah, yeah. And we're all at a point in our lives too where it affects us a lot more than it did when we were 22. So there's some things there we have to keep in mind. Now, I don't know how many times you get asked this question, but I had to like, what drew you to Zepparella? Like, why Zeppelin? And I know you do other things, which I obviously want to get into, but what drew you to this band? Was it the people? Was it the music? Was it a combo? Are there other things?
again, love your question. So, Clementine and I had a mutual friend. Clem and I went to the same college, and our friend also did, and he was a musician as well.
Which school
And
did you go to? Which college?
UC Santa Cruz.
Oh, nice. Okay, okay.
Uh-huh. And he and I had stayed in contact, and we were having a drink one night many years ago. And he said, I have these friends, and they're looking for a singer. And most of my life, I've been in more of a jazzy, soul, bluesy world.
Yep.
Okay. So that's been my center of gravity s- still is. I think that's where everything spawns from for me is this
I
jazzy,
can
soul,
see that.
bluesy place.
I can definitely see
Um,
that from hearing your album.
Thank you. So he said, it's rock, it's Zeppelin, and they tour. Would you be interested? And because Zeppelin is so blues based, I mean, all of those songs are harkening straight blues. And I love that. And I felt that I had my way in there. Plant's phrasing is
Hmm.
so creative and so interesting and so musical. And that was a delight to step into and get inside of. And if nobody would ask me, I think to be in like an AC/DC band or something like that, I don't think that I'm fit for that. But Zeppelin, because of the blues and the phrasing and everything, that I could find my way in. I felt that I could connect the dots to what was already natural to me.
Oh, it's such an interesting
Um,
answer. I wasn't expecting this. Okay, keep
uh,
going. Sorry.
That's okay. And then because as we all were, I was moved by Zeppelin in my younger years. Zeppelin 4 particularly
Yes.
had a big impact on me.
Same.
But I hadn't studied them. I was in more of a jazz thing. So when I started to open, like I watched Song Remains the Same and really started to open up even
Yeah.
deeper to the inner workings of them, that excited me even more because I don't know if this is accurate, but I call them the jazz of rock because they were
Yep.
so improvisational and they changed things all the time. And it was so interesting. And there was so much musical listening, and there's all this vocal play between Plant and Page and things that are, to me, in that improvisational jazz structure ish in a way. So that spoke to me as well. So all of those things, once I could see myself taking that kind of a leap, because that would have been the biggest musical leap I would have ever taken from what I was in in what was in my zone, what was in my wheelhouse comfort zone. And then I did the audition, and I speak of this on stage, and I met Clementine, and I met them all. And the energy in that room was undeniable of these are cool, cool people.
Right.
I would like to experience making music with these people. So that was another win. So there were all these elements that came in to play to lead us where to lead me there, to lead us to actually going forward in joining forces.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really that's the whole road of how I got there.
And so you touched upon a little bit of this already, Anna, but what was life like growing up? So you were an only child. You were born in LA, is that right? Yeah.
Because my
What
parents,
part of LA?
Silver Lake.
Okay, okay.
My
And
parent
did you stay there most of your childhood and growing up? No.
my parents were born and raised there. My parents were from there. My father was a jazz bass player at the time, playing in the clubs in LA. My was an artist. She later went to school studying fine art. But shortly after I was born, my father's he just he I don't want to speak for him, but I think he just wanted to change where his life was focused at this point. And he
Mhm.
loved playing bass. He loved it, but I think he wanted to explore other parts of what he was interested in. So he
Oh,
went to seek his PhD in psychology.
wow.
And that got us moving around all over the country. So I left Los Angeles, oh gosh, probably when I was four,
Okay.
4 or 5. So I don't ever consider myself from there.
Right.
After I was born there, but I don't really consider myself from there. After our travels all over the country while my father was getting his education and going to schools in different places and then finding work while he applies to grad school and then getting a job. I moved all over the country. I went to 4 second grades, 2 third grades,
Oh,
two
wow.
sixth grades,
Oh,
like all
wow.
over the place. Just me, my parents, and our dog Mojo in our red VW van. I
Nice.
kid you not. I moved all over the place.
You guys
And
had a
then
VW van. That's
we had a red with a sunroof.
I'm seeing the
I
new
have
ones
pictures of
around
it.
now. I'm seeing the new ones. Have you seen those? Or no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the bus. So that's different.
It was the
Um,
bust. That's what we
it was
had.
a
We had
bus.
the
Okay.
bus. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
not the new ones today are
Which
nowhere
are more like,
cool, in
yeah.
my opinion, as the old ones. So
They're,
you always remember
they're,
those things, right? Like the car, the insides of it. I can close my eyes and almost reach out. And I can remember there was a cut on the back of the seat about 5 inches from the left. I can touch that. I remember as a kid putting my hand in and feeling the foam, like just vivid memories of those types of things. So you were an only child. So you answered my next question that music, art has really always been in your life, right? So it didn't seem like it was a step in a different direction when you made the decision later on that you wanted to be an artist or you wanted to be a musician, correct?
yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I don't know because yes, my father was a jazz musician, and there was a few, he'd have rehearsals at the house, and there were a few times when they would let me actually sing with them. And there was one time, I think my first live performance was singing Summertime with him at a little jazz festival when I was 11 years old, because even though he was getting his PhD, the bass was always there, and he would
Sure.
still do gigs every now and then when he could. So even though that was there, and not just that he played, but there was music on in the house, he was an avid, he collected albums. So I grew up with, I mean, the day I came home, the story is he rocked me in my little room with Beethoven on. It was just,
Wow.
it started very young that music was everywhere constantly.
Yeah.
And if anything from Miles Davis to Coltrane to Cream to the Beatles to Simon and Garfunkel to Beethoven to Bach. He loved Bach. It was the spectrum
Yeah.
of music that was always around. So I'm not sure with all that, really, I think the reason one would follow the path of being a singer is because it lit your fire somehow inside, deep inside, something lit your fire.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure when that moment was. But I do remember one time, and my parents were, of course, as my mother was an artist, they were I didn't have those parents that were not embracing of anything artistic that would
Yeah.
come out. They were
Amazing.
celebratory of it. But I remember my mother was as much of a music appreciator, so I always make sure that she gets as much credit as an influence as my father, even though he was the official musician. They both had a great deal to do. She brought me to a cabaret show one night where a woman, and I was young, gosh, I was probably 10, 11, 12, I think. A woman came out, sat on a bar stool, and a cappella sang Round Midnight,
Wow.
the jazz standard. And I was mesmerized. Something just went inside the feels. The
Yeah.
feels. It hit me in the feels in a nuclear way. And I think might have been the nucleus,
Sounds like it.
the spin-off part when I just said, I want to, and it was because of the way it hit me, the way it
Right.
made me feel,
You never felt anything like that before. It was, or maybe it had an effect like the next day, like something really cool happens. But then I've always found that when it has a real lasting effect, you find yourself like so many memories of walking around school and being like, I can't get this song out
Yeah.
of my head. And not in an annoying, I heard it on the radio and it has a nice jingle, but I want to sit down and I want to like reverse engineer the song and I want to structure it and I want to find out how it was written. And that was when the signs started coming that this was more than just like a hobby. So for you, it sounds like this hit you right away. Maybe you either knew it or you knew it maybe the next morning when you woke up and you couldn't stop thinking about it. Am I on
Yeah,
similar?
I think in that moment of her voice reverberating in that room, it was, I think I wanted to try to immediately, I wanted to try to learn how to affect that way or learn how to sing, learn
Yeah.
how to sing to be able to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I think I think I was always singing along with records that were in the house, but I think that the lingering effect that you're talking about
Yeah.
is probably what caused the actual action. Whereas I'm going straight into in my schools, I'm going straight into the choir. Get me into the choir, and I was singled out at a young age to do solos and stuff. So apparently something that I was tapping into was working. So that was always giving me that wonderful feedback of singing with others, being able to start to develop what is my voice, learning about singing through choirs. That's really how I learned how to sing during my younger years is every school I was tapped into the choir. So I think that was it. That's what spawned the action to go seek it.
And
Is that moment.
did you ever have moments in your life where maybe you had some doubt? Like, I don't know, maybe I should try something else. Did that ever come up, or has it just been clear, straight focus as long as you can remember?
For a very long time, and maybe it's naivete and, and
Ignorance is bliss.
and the blindness of just plain enthusiasm. I felt that way for a very long time. I never doubted it.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
never doubted that that's what I would just keep doing. And it's
Right.
funny that you don't know if I've ever thought of it that way. But although I didn't go to a music college, in my high school years, I was in choir. I was in what's called chamber singers, which is a smaller group, and we would compete in festivals. And I had solos in there. I was Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ Superstar
Nice.
my senior year. Then as soon as I went into college, even though I chose not to actually study music, I immediately got hooked up with this wonderful group of jazz musicians and got and was accepted into their band and became the lead vocalist in that jazz band. And we lasted for 10 years throughout out of college. So even though I didn't seek it through studying in college. It was always like what I did. It's who I am, it's what I do. So it was never doubted. And then I came to San Francisco to start actually classically studying voice in a way that I didn't do in college or in high school. So it was like that's why I'm here. And I would take job. I was waiting tables. I was doing whatever I could to support the singing. So yeah, it was just like it was tunnel vision beeline for it for a long time without even questioning it. Yeah.
Now, you told me when we met back in May that, or it might have been Clem, she shouted it out, but you told me that Stevie Wonder, correct me if I'm wrong, Stevie Wonder's among many of your influences, but maybe your numero uno? Is that,
Yeah.
yeah? What drew you to Stevie?
My dad had him on
I
a
mean, I
lot.
can probably answer that question pretty easily too, but I wanted to get your perspective. So your dad had him on.
Dad had him on.
What was the first like for me, my mom used to play I Just Called to Say I Love You, and quite frankly, not at the top of my favorites. And it wasn't until I was in London and I was at a party and somebody played Intervisions. And it's like, what the is this? And
Right.
then did the deep dive and went back, and then the love started. What is the draw for you? Why is Stevie number one or at the top, close to the top for you?
Talk about hitting you in the feels. Oh my God, so much of his music. I mean, hits me deeply in the feels. And his vocal, what he can do with his voice. I mean, I think people have tried to emulate Stevie forever. He's just,
Yeah,
and what he sings always has a purpose. Like even if he does licks, it's serving something. It's serving the
yeah,
story. And his musical ideas, like on what is it? Maybe Your Baby, I think is the one that I don't even think there's drums in that album. Or drums in that song. It's just so percussive with what he does with the instrumentation
yeah.
that it moves you to your soul. And I was too young to understand this
Of
intellectually, what was
course.
going on.
Right.
And I think I could be wrong, but back in the day when you get your first CD player, I think one of the first things my father gave me was a Miles Davis album and a Stevie Wonder album. I think those were some of my first two CDs to ever have. And I,
God bless your dad. Yeah,
oh,
that's
he's got just crazy good taste. He's got crazy good taste, really good taste. And the way music works for me is I'll let an album wash over me, but then I obsess about a song and I listen to the thing on repeat. I can't get enough of a song.
yeah.
And there were so many of those with Stevie where I just was like, I would this one song in repeat all the time. And it happened in different stages of my life. Different songs like As might still make me cry. As my heart, my feel, my everything. I remember one time there was a discord I was having with somebody. And you know how we can get in our stories and our
Oh
arguments
yeah.
with how we've
Yep.
been wronged by this somebody.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, Heaven Help Us All came on the playlist. And I just on repeat, Heaven helps the man who kicks the man who has to crawl. I mean, I, I, I was listening to that song over and over again, and it yielded and pointed me toward and eased me into complete forgiveness of that situation that I had
Really?
been in that was causing me such discord. So Stevie hits me on like levels that
Yeah,
aren't
I
just
get it.
music appreciation.
Right.
There's so much in the stories that he tells, the way he tells it, the messages that he says, the way he says them. So it's the full all the way around for me.
I can really empathize with this, Anna, because it sounds cliche or maybe cheesy, but I've always looked at music as medicine. And sometimes I forget how important it is. When I was a kid and I would have whatever, a tough day at school, I would go home and it was much better with the headphones on and I would play something. Literally as recent as Monday, I was upset about something, some challenges, and I got on my bike and was it Monday or Tuesday? It was Tuesday because it was actually the same day that Ozzy Osbourne passed away, sadly. And I was an Ozzy fan growing up, and I just absolutely, I'm unfortunately my hearing is probably going to suffer for this, but I was riding my bike really fast and I was listening to Black Sabbath. And when I was done, all of the crap, all of the stories, all of the whatever, I don't want to say voices, but like all of the negative thoughts were gone. And I thought to myself, I got back and sat on my front porch and chugged what was left of my water bottle. And I was like, damn, that's right. This thing is my medicine. So it seems like for you, it's not only your medicine, but this is like your lifeblood. And that's what keeps you going. Am I right in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Music and artists like Stevie, it's a full body, it's a full body. Like I can tell, I will often get goosebumps and chills from music, and it's a magnet that tells me which ones are really getting to me. It hits me very emotionally. I often will tear up with songs or feel the goosebumpy thing, and it always makes me think differently about things in my life. Like songs will bring a concept of maybe how to relook at something or how to move forward with something in unexpected ways.
Yeah. It's like going to the doctor in many ways, at least before you actually go. Maybe that's the pre. Maybe in waiting rooms, they should just have music to calm us down a little bit more, at least for some of us. So
Exactly.
you've talked so much about how music affects you. I wanted to get your take too on like, what is your impression on what we, I guess I'll preface it first. We talked about the way touring was with some bands 20, 30, 40 years ago, like the 70s and 80s, forget it. If I was in a touring band, I probably wouldn't be here today because of all the just like craziness. But what's your impression of the kind of the music industry today? How is it different from when you started singing and performing, if at all?
Gosh, I think one clear difference is I believe there used to be more resources allocated and more importance put on or more focus on like artist development and really getting behind the concept of an artist and sticking with them while they develop what they're doing. And I think that might have been a wonderful opportunity for songwriters who were trying to hone their voice or hone what they're doing to have that kind of support doing that. I'm not sure the inner workings of that in the music industry. So I don't want to speak out of turn here right now because I'm not in that world as much as I am really just working gigs either
Right.
locally or touring with Zepparella, where we're doing Zeppelin music, which is a draw right there. But in terms of music industry with original artists, yeah, I'm not sure what kind of support and time is put into that A&R person going and finding somebody at a club and saying, I want to bank on this somebody. I think this somebody is maybe a little
Right.
diamond in the rough, maybe a little rough around the edges, but let's throw our resources and get some producers with this person and see how we can craft and hone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that looks like right now in that way. I'm sure that there's an element of that, but and obviously with record stores closing and the way the market is now with you used to selling the records was the way that
And
we
radio play and MTV,
yeah and all
you
those
know,
things
and
and clearly that's changed
yeah.
with streaming so that's changed a lot but on the other side of that I mean it's an open garden
Yeah.
of
You could say that
go
again. Yeah.
right it's just an open garden okay maybe there's not somebody else coming in saying let's hone this person but you can just use the tools right in front of you to say I'm going to hone what I'm doing and
Yeah.
here you go. Am I gonna catch anything? Is it gonna spark anything? So it puts a lot of the agency into your hands in a
Right.
really cool way to see where your own artistry leads you.
We're in the days, obviously, of basement recordings, garage recordings, putting it out yourself and maybe hoping that people hear it. I think I appreciate your answer because I think there's not a clear cut one. I feel as I got older, I was like, okay, I think I understand the formula. I don't know if I can necessarily get into it, but make it, meet it. You have to gig, like record, gig, get attention, get an album or record an album, get interest, be on the radio. And that was the formula. That was it. And then you had some of these bands, some jam bands, and there's other ones like Fish is one that comes to me because I'm from the Northeast, where like they got all their attention from just gigging, and tapes. The Grateful Dead is another example. But you're absolutely right. Today, it's so much easier to stumble upon something that's fresh and new that you might have never heard before. But I wonder if there's, I guess I'll say this and then finish it off with something. I wonder if there's like a ceiling to that. And as I've said that to other musicians and artists that I've had on the podcast, almost every one of them have said, I'm not after being Taylor Swift. God bless her. I'm doing this for me. And I just have so much respect for that. And I guess at the end of the day, all we can do is just put ourselves out there and really do what we want to do. You really do what you want to do, as opposed to having somebody in your ear going, oh, Anna, you got to do it this way if you really want to sell. So maybe those are one of many of the kind of positive things about maybe the music industry today. Would you agree?
Yeah, I know when I sit down to write or think about creating something, it's more for to be truthful within myself than it is to yeah, how can I run in the fast lane and compete with all these things? And but it definitely allows for the freedom of unabashed creativity without you putting on a bridle or boundaries. And then you get this sort of feedback. You get this sort of instant testing ground feedback, whether it's on social media or YouTube or wherever it's where you can start to feel those temperatures out and say, oh, this one caught a little fire. Oh, this one not so much. And yeah, again, to that word of personal agency and without anyone telling you what to do, you just lean into the direction that lights the spark in you.
I still feel like I scratch my head sometimes trying to figure out why some of my videos do better than others. And I've essentially, and I don't know if you guys do this, but I've just been like, it is what it is. I'm not going to try to figure out the science behind it. More of the times when I spend a lot of time on work or something and put it out there, it gets fewer views than something that I just like did in 5 minutes. And so that excites me, but it also sometimes worries me. But then, like you said, I try not to let a lot of those thoughts creep in too much and just say, life is short, you're having fun. And this has been so much more to me than just interviewing people. It's been connecting with musicians who I think are like-minded. And that's really my people. I grew up around nobody that was into what I was into. So it was a very New York, Chicago, Boston, finance driven, conservative. I went to an all boys school. I wore a tie, basically had to, make sure I didn't get into a fight every single day. So music was really my escape. And coming back to all this, I think that we're all just trying to put ourselves out there, and we now have the tools today where we can do that, and for me, trying to figure out why something's worked and why something hasn't. I mean, I'm open to feedback and hearing maybe you did this and this is why this worked, but I'm with you. I think like it's putting stuff out there, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, just keep trying. And it's not necessarily about the clicks and the views. It's just more about enjoying your time. And you mentioned the people and the girls in your band.
The process of expression. It's the
Yeah.
process of expression. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. So I wanted to ask, and I think you've alluded to some of this already, but I'm just eager to ask, like, in general, what inspires you, Anna?
Wow. Great question. What inspires me? Clearly, songs that hit me inspire me and move me. Great singing. Great singing inspires me and moves me. I mean, I went through a whole Aretha phase too, as much as I went through a Stevie phase. I had her entire collection. I mean, I think through college, people knew I had Aretha on constantly. She was another big inspiration. A whole other element that I love is stand-up comedy and comedians. And I think they're about the most courageous human beings on the
Oh,
planet.
totally.
Cour Courageous beyond belief and insightful. And I always get inspired when I lean into any sort of like a really good comedy actor, stand-up comedian. So that inspires me. In terms of that thing that we touched upon in the beginning of this conversation of just the daily life practice of spiritual mindfulness and spirituality, when you can find yourself, when you're able to really hone presence and really be present in the moment and find the distance from the chatter, the disruptive chatter that goes on, and you can
Right.
really find an inner calm in your daily life. That inspires me. I mean, I've been listening to Stoicism concepts for that reason, just finding the inner calm in the chaos. That really does. That when I can touch those moments, that inspires me. Great creation, whether it's comedy or songs or art. Anybody that's, I feel, walking that edge of really being truthful,
Mm.
walking that edge of gritty,
Yeah.
raw truth
Yeah.
in their writing, in their art, and they bust open that awareness that that connects us all. I think those
Yeah.
gritty moments of pure raw truth are what connects us all.
Yeah.
And when someone can find that in the art that they're creating, that always inspires me.
Yeah.
And gets me fired up to try to do that as well.
I'm with you. It doesn't really matter. It could be specific to music, but I mean, if I see somebody I saw this guy on Instagram one day who he takes a chainsaw and he makes sculptures out of wood with a chainsaw. And that really inspired me, like just the artistic value that he had in his work. So, okay, I'm going to flip it a little bit here.
Okay.
What, on the flip side of that, what scares you, if anything? And I think you touched upon some of those things, maybe some of our thoughts that we try to manage when we have dark times. But what, maybe not just in your head, but just in the world, like what scares you,
Huh.
if anything?
Okay, so those who know me know that I do struggle with anxiety quite a bit. I think maybe that's why it's pushed me into learning all these things in how
Sure.
to maneuver your life with that going on because it does follow me around a lot. And I think always my if what I try to do in my daily practice of trying to watch these moments is I try to go, what's the sponsoring thought here? What's the sponsoring thought that's sparking this anxiety for me right now? And it always goes back to some sort of safety or existential threat, that there's some looming threat to safety,
Yeah.
threat to,
Oh my God.
to, right?
Yes.
And that, if I can remember that, okay, that's the sponsoring thought here. There's a threat to safety for me. And somehow the existence that I know that will be taken away somehow by something looming.
Right.
So I think the undercurrent of things in life that trigger that fear, and for better or for worse, or for just the way life works, I've chosen a field that triggers that quite a bit. There's- that triggers that kind of consistently. And I question this all the time. It's like, you must really love music and really love singing to have chosen a field that presses you up against this constantly. So it's like the path I've chosen to get stronger. Like, I think the Stoics would say, like, adversity, you want the adversity because that's what strengthens your muscle.
Yeah.
Go out there, little warrior, and make it happen.
Yeah.
And whether it's performance anxiety, I mean, I go through I mean, the girls know me backstage. I'm pacing around,
Yeah.
checking my voice, pacing around, checking my voice. It's my backstage focus ritual. And that pacing around is because I've got all this nervous energy
Right.
kicking through me
Right.
because I'm about to go out there in a very
Yeah.
vulnerable place and do a very
Right.
vulnerable thing. So, you know, that I think just that those daily little, sometimes I call them, I make little landmines you run into that where I poking the hornet's nest. You do something
Yep.
and it pokes the hornet's nest of all this
Yeah.
fear, fears.
Right.
And it's usually things that somehow are going to threaten safety and yeah, threaten safety, an existential kind of threat.
It sounds like you've done a lot of work through your life to really be prepared for that. And so somebody told me one day, not long ago, to actually, like, Greg, try actually putting a name to it. And I was like, what do you mean? And they'll name it Larry. So when
Yeah.
Larry comes up, you can just say, shut up, Larry. I'm about to go out on stage, or I'm about to meet this person, or I'm about to record this podcast, and I'm nervous. I've got this nervous energy. I do the same thing. I'll pace around, and then you'll hear me say out loud, shut up, Larry.
I
So
love it.
yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many tools, but it sounds like you've really used this in your world, in your life, and I think it just makes you all the more human. I rarely have talked to people who are like, no, I'm not really scared of anything. I don't really have too many concerns. I admire those people, but sometimes I quietly to myself wonder if they're really telling me the truth. So I appreciate your transparency and your honesty. And if anything, just I can relate for sure. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
um,
Yeah, it's a vulnerable thing to admit that, but I do hope that that other people can relate. There's a thing called performance anxiety for a reason.
yeah.
There's other people that experience this, I'm sure. So hopefully that connects us all and says, hey, we're all in this boat together. We're all, what is that saying that be kind because everybody's carrying their own bag of rocks?
Yeah.
Everybody's got something,
Yep.
right? Be
Yep.
kind. Yeah.
It also makes you human, right? Like I realize I won't dive too deep into this digression, but I realize that AI is like a big thing now, but some days I struggle with it in terms of like it helping my creativity. And so anyways, I guess I told somebody the other day, if I'm going to a new town and I want a restaurant recommendation, I'm a big like foodie like you and a lot more healthy foods now these days. I'm going to reach out to a person, then maybe go on a chat. I sound so old, like a chat site. But I guess your answer just, I think we're humans, right? And we all have these little, I'm not going to call them imperfections. It's the natural way of life. And so, and I think if we all were to kind of kumbaya moment, if we were all to be on a similar page where it's okay, you were experiencing some of your troubles. Here's how I've dealt with those. Here's some recommendations. And it just, I think it can bring a lot more of us together. And that's why I see after now talking to all four of you in Zepparella, I can see why you guys connect
Mm.
so well and not just on a musical level, which is important and you could probably get away with, I don't, I'm not really, I can't really see myself hanging out with so and so after gigs, but we do really well on stage. But you guys all really have that connection that it's now solidified now that I've talked to all four of you, that it's just the jealousy level. Because I get inspiration from being around people like you guys and my friends that are positive but realistic, right? They're not overly, oh, everything's fine. I know my house is on fire, but everything's okay. So I can really appreciate that.
I love that you said that because as much as we bond, I mean, it's like as much as we all bond over loving to play Zeppelin. Oh my God, that's so much fun. It is not, it is completely sincere. The
I
chemistry
can feel it.
and the way
Yeah.
the ecosystem of the four of us work together. And I am grateful for it every single day. It's a real special thing, and I adore them all. And I'm grateful for it every day.
Now, we've done a lot of talking about Zepparella, but I wanted to talk about your solo music as well. So, correct me if I'm wrong, right now, at least released out there, you've got two albums, 2003's Session 2, which you co-wrote and performed with guitarist Craig Olson,
That's right.
and then your most recent 2017 Soul Truth, which I just held up to the camera and I love and I've been crushing. I just drove up to Canada last week and I was just playing it on. I still have a CD player in my car. So
Yay!
yeah, so I was playing it over and over again. The kids had their little headphones on and their video games, and my wife and I, we had the windows cracked. It was a nice drive, and I was blaring the music, blaring your
Oh,
album.
I'm
And
honored.
really,
I'm
oh my God.
honored.
Yeah, it kept me company during that. It also, I was like, oh my God, I want to write some stuff down because I have so many questions for Anna. But then I was like, no, I'm going to focus on the road. And then when I get to my destination, then I'm going to sit down and write some stuff. So, but I just quickly side note, you mentioned earlier a Stevie song that practically makes you cry. For the last like 30 plus years, the song Songbird, Fleetwood Mac, for those people listening, is one that can crack me up and put me in a position where I'm fighting the tears a little bit. Your version, Anna, is breathtaking. I was listening to it, like I said, and I almost had to pull over. Christine McVie's version already tugs at my heartstrings. And I seriously mean this. With the arrangement that you put, which was a little bit different, brought it to another level. And I don't think that's easy to do. So I wanted to call that out among many other songs of yours. And even though this is a cover, I really feel like an artist can put their own language to a song and their own piece to it. So I just wanted to call that out as something that
Mm.
really moved me. So thank you for that.
Oh, that music to my ears. So I do have to give homage to another artist who I just is brings me to my knees on a consistent basis. And she is the artist that did inspire my version of Songbird, and that is Ava Cassidy. And
Yes.
Ava Cassidy does a version, and I'm referencing that a little bit, but I like to think that Dave Weeks and I, Dave, who's playing on Songbird, that we brought our own energy and emotion to it as well. And I really, in my heart of hearts, and when we were recording, that one was for my mom. I was giving that one to her. But that's one of my cherished recordings. And so it means a lot to me that you singled that one out. Truly, really means a lot.
There's others as well. I stumbled upon it a couple weeks ago as a short documentary on YouTube produced by Dave Weeks of the making of Soul Truth. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm a documentary like freak. Like I could watch documentaries all day long. I joke around with my wife. I could watch a documentary about a watermelon. Like I just love documentaries. And
Right.
so with exception to I think that song, you wrote, correct me if I'm wrong, you wrote all the songs on the album on piano before adding the remaining instruments. With the exception of the song Released, which is one of my favorites, you recorded on piano, but everything was written on piano and then later translated.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I'm actually, as we speak now, I'm starting to play more piano and actually play out. So another one of my
Awesome.
lifelong sort of what I want to do is play and sing a lot more. So I was a bit
Yeah,
shy to do that because I have a feeling, I think being raised around jazzers a little bit, who just, their skills are so immense
I
and
know.
playing with
I
jazzers
know.
a lot, right?
It can
I
be
just never,
intimidating.
very. And I would hear things that I was nowhere near capable of playing. So I just got frustrated with myself. And I just didn't have the time to get the chops to where just let him play it or her play it. They're going to kill it. So I would always just use the piano as a writing tool and used it at home a lot. And I know how to write basic charts. I know how to communicate with my players to let them know what to play. But that was always understood for me is this is the tool to write with, but the actual playing will be by people far more advanced than myself. Released was the one that the song only calls for the simple the simple basic melodies that I wrote, the basic piano piece that I wrote for that song. That's really all it calls for. It doesn't need more than that. So that one I was okay playing. Hopefully, as I start to strengthen these skills, I doubt I'll get to the jazzer place, but I will certainly, I think, be able to, in a stronger way, accompany myself for the types of songs that I write. And that's very exciting for me. But yes, and I have no regret at all about everybody that played on that album because they were
Of
all
course.
just
Amazing.
fabulous. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I chose the guy did, and they,
Now, you also recorded all the backing vocals on the album as well, which was
yes.
wonderfully placed. You alluded to this already early. It's funny, all these things that I write down, sometimes my questions will lead you to answer them before I ask them, which is really cool, if I'm being honest. After talking to Clem, to Holly, to Gretchen, you've all had solo projects and you've all had different influences in your music, in my opinion. Clem's solo projects are mystical, magical. These are the things, this is what I had to pull over at a cool little country store in Vermont on my drive up to Canada last week, write down. I think of mystical, magical, mellow when I listen to Clem. She's got some faster songs as well. In comparison to Holly's band Dead Groove, that's straight up like rock and blues metal. Gretchen's is blues, but a lot of instrumental improvisation, almost prog rock type like. Her and I talked about this a little bit when we had our conversation. And you already nailed it earlier. Like your music is very soulful, very jazzy. And so what I wrote down, Anna, when I got to this place, I wrote it in my phone, thankfully. I picture myself walking late at night in either San Francisco or New York, and I stumble upon a nightclub, and it's really late at night. And every other bar in the neighborhood that I'm in is closed, and it's raining. And I walk in, and all of a sudden, I walk into this dimly lit room with seated tables, like Jimmy's, where you guys performed in New Hampshire. And every person there has got their eyes fixed on the stage. And there's just one light, and it's you standing up on stage singing this soulful, jazzy music. And the only thing I can think to do is grab a chair and just sit and listen.
Oh
So it
my God.
that's the mood that your music has put me in. And that's a little painting that I painted in my head that I had to write down. So
I am enthralled with that. I wouldn't, it's exactly what I would want. It's exactly what I would want. It's my tone, it's my vibe. I'm more complimented than I have words for, and so jazzed. That is what you were inspired to think of doing with
so
my
glad.
record.
Yeah, and it didn't like it wasn't manufactured. That's the weird thing. It just like comes to me. And I don't know if you're like this, but I've got some musical friends in my life, but I'm around a lot of people who aren't. So I'm always known as Greg, the music guy. And I'll say those types of things to people, and they'll be like, huh? And it just makes me like the thought even more because I'm like, yeah, like they don't get it. But I mentioned that to a few people, and they're like, I think I can see, I played your record, and I think I can see what you're getting at there. And I'm like, no, they can't see it. They're just patting me on the back because they don't know
Right.
what else to say. So, but I guess you already answered my question, which was going to be, where do you think those influences came from? But you already touched upon that already. So I feel like a lot of times these influences, we don't necessarily pick them, they pick us, right? I mean, that's how
Yeah,
I feel.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's what hits you. I mean, I've said this, I feel like I've said this repeatedly, but it's what hits you.
Yeah.
What hits you in the feels, what lights your fire, what lights your spark,
Right.
and that leads you to follow that. That's the magnet that pulls you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
for me, it's as simple as that. I don't come at it more intellectually than that. It's, do I feel it? I want to move closer to it.
It's
I want to
natural.
try to do it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think you mentioned at the beginning too that do you have plans to record another record or put more of your music out there?
I would very much like to, and I'm starting to dabble with some ideas right now. I gig a lot, I sing a lot,
Yeah.
and
Busy person.
I really focus on whatever task I'm doing. Like
Yeah.
I throw a lot of focus into that. And so if I'm performing in these different scenarios, that's going to take my focus. And maybe others can do this. I don't as easily switch gears on the same day, let's say. I've spent all this time
Interesting.
working on this material for this performance coming up. Now I'm going to turn and work on this song I was writing. It's like turning a big ship for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It doesn't shift as easily for me. So if a lot of my focus is happening in performances that are coming up, material for those performances are coming up, I tend to I throw all my energies right there. And maybe in the morning, like some idea will come to me and I'll throw that down on my phone. But going deeper to explore that idea and expand it is going to have to wait for another day.
Sure.
So that's the juggling I'm doing with my life right now, is how to balance. And I'm
Hmm.
slowly trying
Interesting.
to, yeah, slowly trying to inch away at maybe throwing a little bit more time on that song idea that came to me that morning. Even if I have all this other material that I'm working on today, maybe I can throw a little bit, do that 5 minute rule or the 10 minute rule. Just give it right two lines, right? Make your life right 4 lines.
Right.
But on days where I have a few days before performances are happening, or maybe it's not as, the workload isn't as crushing for the material that I'm learning or doing. That's when the little sparks will start to fly a little bit
Right.
more in the writing. And that's starting to happen more often. And again, I think it's a spiral. But I can feel those things bubbling as we speak. So my hope is, yes, there's going to be some more songs coming out.
Like a true artist, you're letting the inspiration come to you. And thankfully, you're not in a position where, if we harken back to the days of like where it was like you have a record contract and you sign a contract, you have to put out 4 albums in X many years. And there's story after story of musicians being like, I can't take this. I can't be forced to be creative. And there's certainly been some success stories, but a lot of horror stories as well, where people they go crazy or they end up quitting. So it
Right.
seems natural that, like for many artists, it's got to come natural to you. I was diagnosed in 1986 with attention deficit disorder, nothing serious. And now today it's called ADHD, but I have trouble shifting as well. I have found it to be somewhat helpful. I do have friends and people who I seek therapy from that have tried to guide me along that. And it is difficult, but like I've resorted to, especially with my podcast work and then also being a husband and a father, I'll set an alarm, right? But to your point, Anna, it's not always easy. And I've found one of the biggest mistakes I made early in my time building this business. I tried to force the creativity. And then I would go back a year later and listen to the episode. And I was like, that episode sucked. It was just all forced. And I was just not myself. And it was just canned. And so I happen to agree with you. And I give you a lot of credit for relaxing, taking a deep breath and letting that come to you when you have the time. And when we have free time, when you're off the road, it seems like that's maybe you finish your cup of coffee in the morning if you drink, or you're a tea drinker, you drink some tea and then you're like,
Well, I do have coffee. I have one cup of coffee in the morning.
one cup of coffee in the morning.
That's my vice. That's my
Smart.
one vice. Yep.
Yes, me too. I know, me too. I know. I've become such a snob too. Like I buy certain beans online, but they have to be like certain beans from a certain
Yeah.
place. Now that I don't really drink a lot anymore either, that's my vice as
Yep.
well. But
That's my one
it's
vice.
like
Yeah.
you finish, it's mid-morning, you finish your coffee and then you're like, all right, I got 3 hours till I gotta do something. Maybe. And then you just let it come to you. Or I guess it sounds like overall it's just not forced. And if the moment hits you, then you'll jot something down or you'll do some writing or
Yeah. Sometimes a melody will just come to me, but sometimes it's because I just listen to something.
sure.
If I just listen to something, then all of a sudden it goes bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. And I'm like, phone recording now, voice, phone, record.
Totally. Yeah, you need that. Did you ever own a dictaphone?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
No.
I'm dating myself a little bit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a dictaphone, and back in the day, it was like the 90s, I would walk around and just talk into that, like with the tape. Yeah. And then bring that back later to write with. But obviously now we have our phones. So those days, the sad creators of dictaphones are sadly out of business now. But
I remember when I was really little, I think
the tape
my father
recorder.
had, the pushy
Yeah,
thing.
you hit record and play
Yep.
at the same time, and yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Or waiting for a song to come on the radio, and I'd have another radio next to it, and then when that song would come on, I would run over to my radio. So I had a cassette tape of like 30 songs that I taped off the radio, and almost all of them, the first like 10 seconds weren't there because it was me running to the radio to hit play record to get this out. But that was my like, how did you get this, Greg? And I'm like, oh, I
Exactly.
recorded it off the radio. But it would be one speaker like yelling at another one. So it was definitely not quality recordings. But
Yeah.
Anna, I realize that we're getting
Oh my
close
gosh.
to
What a
the
fun
end here.
conversation.
Is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to bring up? I always want to give people an opportunity if there's something that I might have missed.
Oh my gosh. Thank you to everybody who comes to our Zepparella shows and shows us such darn love, my friends. Ah, you're the lifeblood.
Hmm.
Love you all. It's a joy. I love this opportunity to talk about music like this. I appreciate all of your questions and all your thoughtfulness in it. It's been a delight. Thanks for having me. And to cheers to everybody keep following the feels and
All of the reels.
following the feels and what lights your spark.
Thank you so much, Anna, for chatting with me today. Please keep in touch and let me know when you launch another record and if you even go on tour. I mean, I think I follow you already on YouTube and everything, and keep in touch with the other girls as well. But I actually, I'll bore you with this later, but there's a venue in Massachusetts that I want to get you guys in touch with the owner because I think you would absolutely crush it. I don't know when the last
Yes,
time you
please.
guys were in Massachusetts. The Jimmy's in Portsmouth, New Hampshire is an incredible venue, if you
Oh,
recall.
love it.
And yeah, so, but I can't thank you enough for this conversation, but for your band's friendship. Like this is what's even more important to me than doing these things. It's just when I look back now 5 years, like all the connections that I made with people, I've literally talked to people from Italy, from Norway, from Denmark, from Singapore. The list goes on. And I'm just so grateful that you yourself took the time out of your busy day with all the touring and all the writing and all the everything that you're doing to talk with me. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I hope very much that our paths will cross again in the near future.
Me too. It's been a delight,
Awesome.
truly.
Thanks again for listening to episode number 90 and my conversation with Zepparella lead singer Anna Kristina. I just think Anna is such an interesting person. I love talking with her and with musicians about how they stay healthy and sane on the road. If you liked this episode, you should go back and listen to my conversations with the other three band members of Zepparella, drummer Clementine Moss, bassist Holly West, and most recently with guitarist Gretchen Menn. I will tell you guys, these women are special. Not only do they all have their own amazing side projects going on, they absolutely crush Led Zeppelin songs. So go check out those conversations and episodes at albumreview.net or anywhere where you get your podcasts. Remember, if you're interested in any of the albums or books that I've discussed in this episode or on previous episodes, go to albumreview.net and pick up a copy of your own. Listen to all my podcast album reviews at albumreview.net by clicking on the podcast tab. They can also be heard wherever podcasts are available. Please follow the show on your preferred platform so you can get regular updates on new episodes. And also, if you guys would be so kind as to pop a quick review or rate the podcast, that helps move the needle and get the word out there. I do want to hear from you guys, so please email me your feedback, album review requests, and any questions you might have to gpotters@albumreview.net. That's G-O-P. That's my own name, and I just got it wrong. That's GPOTTERS at albumreview.net. It's Friday. If you'd like to get regular updates on reviews, interviews, product and music news, go to the homepage and join the mailing list. Visit our LinkedIn and YouTube pages and stay tuned for updates on Instagram, Facebook, and that thing they call TikTok. You can find me at albumreview.net. Well, on to Cincinnati. Just kidding. On to episode number 91, closing in on 100. Never thought this would actually be a reality. Thank you guys all again for your support. And as always, drop the needle and keep listening.
Take a trip down by the highway. Take a trip down by the highway. Take a trip down by